Chapter 5. It was Ranji's turn to bat. The score stood at 53 for 4 wickets. The team had to make another 60 runs to win. Ranji had made lots of runs in some of the minor matches, but in the last 2 inter-school games, his score had been poor. Now he was determined to make enough runs to take his side to victory. Ranji prepared to face the bowler. The ball came through sharply to strike Ranji on his pads. "How's that?" screamed the bowler, hopping about like a kangaroo. The umpire slowly raised a finger. "Out," he said. It was Ranji's turn to walk back to the shed. The match was won by the visiting team. The coach was stern. "You'll have to make more runs in the next game," he told Ranji, "or you'll lose your place in the side." Ranji walked slowly homewards, his head down. He was very upset. When an important game had come along, he had failed to make a big score. He couldn't bear the thought of not being a part of the school team. On his way home, he had to pass the clock tower where he often stopped at Mr. Kumar's sports shop to look at all the things on the shelves: footballs, cricket balls, badminton rackets. It was Wonderland where Ranji usually liked to linger. But on this day, he didn't feel like looking at them. He was about to cross the road when Mr. Kumar's voice stopped him. "Hello, Ranji. Off in a hurry today? And why are you looking so sad?" So Ranji had to stop. He couldn't ignore Mr. Kumar, who had always been kind and helpful. Mr. Kumar had been a state-level player once and had scored a century in a match against Tanzania. He thought Ranji would become a good cricketer. "Lost the game today?" he asked, as Ranji stepped into the shop. "We lost the match," said Ranji. "Never mind," said Mr. Kumar. "Where would we be without losers? There wouldn't be any games without them. Anyway, how many runs did you make?" "None." Mr. Kumar rested his hand on Ranji's shoulder. "All good players have a bad day now and then, but I haven't made a good score in my last 3 matches, said Ranji. "I'll be dropped from the team if I don't do something in the next game." "We can't let that happen," mused Mr. Kumar. "Something will have to be done about it." "I'm just unlucky," said Ranji. "Maybe, but in that case, it's the time to change your luck. Now, just come with me to the back of the shop and I'll see if I can do something about your luck." Puzzled, Ranji followed Mr. Kumar. He found himself in a poorly lit room, stacked to the ceiling with all kinds of old sporting goods. Mr. Kumar began examining a number of old cricket bats. Then he picked up one, said, "Ah," and held it out to Ranji. "This is it," he said. "This is the bat that I made a century with. Of course, it's an old bat, but it hasn't lost any of its magic," said Mr. Kumar. He held it out to Ranji. "Here, take it. I'll lend it to you." Ranji took the bat and gazed at it in awe and delight. "Is it really the bat that you made a century with?" he asked. "It is," said Mr. Kumar. "And it may get you 100 runs too." Ranji spent a nervous week waiting for Saturday's match. His school team would be playing a strong side from another town. At last, Saturday arrived, bright and sunny and just right for cricket. Suraj, the team captain, won the toss for the school and chose to bat first. The opening batsman made 30 runs steadily. The visiting fast bowlers couldn't do much. The spin bowlers came on and immediately there was a change. 2 wickets fell in 1 over and the score was 33 for 2. Suraj made a few quick runs, then he too was out. The next batsman was clean bowled, 46 for 4, and it was Ranji's turn to bat. He walked slowly to the wicket. He prepared for the first ball. The bowler took a short run and then the ball was twirling towards Ranji. Ranji felt a thrill running through his arm as he felt the ball meet the springy willow of the bat. Crack! The ball hit firmly, speed towards the boundary, 4 runs. Ranji swung the next ball to the onside boundary for another 4. But this was just the beginning. Now, Ranji began to play all the strokes he knew. The rival captain tried all his bowlers, but none of them could stand up to Ranji, who sent the fielders scampering all over the field. At lunch break, he had scored 40. When Suraj closed the innings, Ranji was not out for 58. The rival team was bowled out for a poor score and Ranji's school won the match. On his way home, Ranji stopped at Mr. Kumar's shop to give him the good news. "We won," he said, "and I made 58 my highest score so far. It really is a lucky bat." "I told you so," said Mr. Kumar, giving Ranji a warm handshake. "There'll be bigger scores yet." Ranji went home in high spirits. Mr. Kumar was right. It was only the beginning of Ranji's success with the bat. In the next game, he scored 40. The game that followed was a 2-day match and Ranji made 45 runs. In the second innings, when the school team needed only 60 runs for victory, Ranji was batting with 25 when the winning runs were hit. Everyone was pleased with him, his coach, his captain, Suraj, and his teammates, but no one knew about the lucky bat. That was a secret between Ranji and Mr. Kumar. One evening, during an informal match, Ranji's friend Bhim slipped while running after the ball and cut his hand on a sharp stone. Ranji took him to a doctor where the wound was washed and bandaged. As it was getting late, he decided to go straight home. He caught a bus near the clock tower. When he reached home, his mother brought him a cup of tea. While he was drinking it, she said, "Ranji, where's your bat?" "Oh, I must have left it on the Maidan when Bhim got hurt," said Ranji, starting up. "I'd better go and get it now, or it will disappear." He ran all the way to the Maidan. The Maidan was deserted and there was no sign of the bat. Then Ranji remembered that he'd had it with him on the bus, after saying goodbye to Bhim at the clock tower. He must have left it on the bus. He'd never find it now. The bat was lost forever. And on Saturday, Ranji's school would be playing their last and most important match against a visiting team from Delhi. Next day, he was at Mr. Kumar's shop, looking very sorry for himself. "What's the matter?" asked Mr. Kumar. "I've lost the bat," said Ranji. "Your lucky bat, the one I made all those runs with. I left it on the bus, and day after tomorrow, we are playing the Delhi school, and I'll be out for a duck, and we lose our chance of being the district champions." Mr. Kumar smiled and said, "You can still make all the runs you want, but I don't have the bat anymore," said Ranji. "Any bat will do," said Mr. Kumar. "What do you mean?" "I mean, it's the batsman and not the bat that matters. Shall I tell you something? That old bat I gave you was no different from any other bat I've used. True, I made a lot of runs with it, but I made runs with other bats too. What you needed was confidence, not a bat. And by believing in the bat, you got your confidence back." "What's confidence?" asked Ranji. "Con-fi-dence," said Mr. Kumar slowly. "Confidence knowing you are good. And I can be good without the bat? Of course, you have always been good. You are good now. Remember that. If you remember it, you'll make the runs." On Saturday, Ranji walked to the wicket with a bat borrowed from Bhim. Their team had lost its first wicket with only 2 runs on the board. The Delhi school's opening bowler was sending down some really fast ones. Ranji faced up to him. The first ball was very fast. Quick on his feet, Ranji stepped back and pulled it hard to the on boundary. The ball soared over the heads of the fielders and landed with a crash in a crate full of cold drink bottles. "A 6! Everyone stood up and cheered. And it was only the beginning of Ranji's wonderful innings. The match ended